All right, guys, back here on the Fox 5 Live Zone. Thank you so much for sticking with us. Well, it is perhaps the #1 story in the world. It's a story that a lot of folks are talking about. Of course, we are talking about the turmoil that continues in the Middle East. To be more specific, the war in Gaza. It is arguably fair to say that right now both Israel and Hamas are on the brink of war, on all-out fledged war. This after Hamas denied a, let's say, ceasefire proposal put forth by the U.S. Joining us now to discuss all things surrounding this and so much more happens to be our foreign policy expert, Mr. Harley Lippman. Always good to see you, sir. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me back. Great to see you, too.
All right. I wish it happened to be under better circumstances, Harley, but I woke up this morning and turned on the TV as I always do, and one of the top stories, the headline I see is, it's about to get a lot worse, and I'm referring to what is taking place in Gaza right now. Walk us through with regard to Hamas saying, you know what, we don't really like the ceasefire proposal that was put forth, and then Israel reacting.
Hamas doesn't want peace. What they want is victory. They want to defeat Israel and they want to destroy Israel. And they've said it. They want to kill every Jew in Israel. I mean, that's their stated mission. So, of course, what they want is they want Israel to withdraw from Gaza entirely. They want written guarantees. And only then will they release the hostages. Well, clearly, that's not acceptable to Israel or to any nation in Israel's position. Israel agreed, and Hamas initially was agreeing to a temporary ceasefire, and Israel would withdraw. But they want to make sure that they stay in power and they win. That's what they want. And they feel time is on their side. There were texts that were discovered coming from someone named Sinwar, who's the leader of Hamas in Gaza, who says time is on our side. And he says that partly because the war is now going into its 9th month, and Israel still has not scored a significant victory, even though they are winning. And they feel if they hold out, they could declare a victory. Moreover, they feel the world is helping them. Why should Hamas negotiate with Israel if the world is putting pressure on Israel to have a ceasefire and withdraw? So the problem with nations like Norway, Ireland, and Spain that said they want to declare a Palestinian nation, and also with student demonstrations, all not to surrender and not to be reasonable. And the truth is, at the end of the day, this is a clash between barbarism and civilization. Barbarism because Hamas wants to kill infidels, which is anyone who's not them, and that includes Muslims as well. And Israel, while not perfect, is a civilized nation. It's an open society. Arabs have the highest standard of living in the Arab world. There's freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, freedom of religion. You have in Israel, you have a democratic nation. But what's happening is that if you take other countries' children and elderly and you put them among your civilians, you are trying to blackmail Israel and the world from trying to get back their own citizens, their own people. Because inevitably in a war, civilians will die. But it's Hamas who's responsible as to why these civilians are dying. It's sad that these Palestinian civilians are being killed. It breaks my heart to see that. I don't want to see any innocent human beings being killed. But when you fire rockets from a hospital into the home of an Israeli family to kill them, that hospital loses its protected status. Hamas's strategy is to have as many Palestinian civilians killed as possible so that it generates support for the Palestinian cause and isolates Israel, which is working very well.
Yeah.
Actually, I would argue that Gaza is the most fortified place in the world. Fortified. not only because of extraordinary booby traps, where most Israeli soldiers die because they're going into a building that was booby trapped, or because of their extensive tunnels, which is bigger than the New York subway system. It's a city underneath Gaza, but also because it's the most fortified city and place in the world, because it's fortified by the New York Times, by Amnesty International, by Human Rights Watch, by France, by student demonstrations. They all empower Hamas to want to keep fighting and want to keep killing. And that's why this war is going on. Israel has every interest to want to have peace. Hamas does not want, because they don't want to surrender.
Yeah, Harley,
But these people are worse than ISIS.
I got about 2 minutes left, and I really want to make sure I pose this question to you as well. And thus far, truly appreciate your commentary. If there's one bright side to all of this, and that is we learned late last week with the rescue, if you will, of several hostages. And once again, I remember turning on the TV and seeing the smiles of the many families that, quite honestly, were concerned about their loved ones that had been held hostage for months. I mean, months on end. Would you like to speak to that at all? The fact that something finally positive has come out of this, that folks have been reunited?
Yes, unfortunately, our reception is not good. It's very staticky and you're fading in and out. So I'm not sure I heard your question well. It sounds like, is there hope and encouragement given the hostage rescue? Am I right? Is that what you're asking?
That is correct.
Okay, well, yes. I mean, it was an extraordinary operation, something right out of the movies. It did boost the spirits of Israelis. Yes, it was a wonderful thing. But again, there are over 100 hostages, about 130 that is still in Hamas's hands. And God knows what they're doing to these people, especially the women that they have. And, the problem is the world willing to fight for their civilization? We've seen the military have an increasingly difficult time getting more young people to enlist to serve their country, the United States, England, Germany, and others. So the real question is, are we willing to fight and die for our freedom? And that's a big question. So it's not ending on the most hopeful note, but I will say that I am hopeful that Israel will prevail, because this is like World War II and Nazi Germany. There is a right and a wrong. There is a good and an evil. However imperfect Israel is, like the United States was very imperfect in World War II. The United States was attacked in Pearl Harbor. We lost 3,000 sailors. And then we went on to kill 3.5 million Japanese. But we ended the war, and Japan is a peaceful nation today. And that's what we're going to need to have peace in the Middle East.
Yeah. Harley, I couldn't have put it any better. That's what we are all seeking, as you stated, peace in the Middle East. We truly appreciate your commentary. Once again, foreign policy expert, none other than Mr. Harley Lippman, joining us right here on the Live Zone. Have a great weekend, Harley. Thanks again.
You too. Thank you.